Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 3 of season 2 of Newbie Star Trek. Sorry for missing out last week. It's because we actually recorded a new episode of the Fugitive Frames film podcast.
Yeah.
For, a very relevant movie that had just come out at the time.
And it will remain relevant up until the release of the podcast.
Yeah. I'll wait till Thursday, and then it'll become irrelevant.
Yeah, you can stop caring about it after you listen to us talk about it.
Yeah. We won't give away what the movie is, but...
So in preparation, watch every movie, and then you'll be all good.
Yeah. But the conversation was very combative, and it put into perspective on
just
how
like
we're all but a bunch of mortals living on this mortal coil.
Just like that Tekken game.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
There is a Tekken movie.
Yep.
Which is really bad.
Which we should watch, really.
Oh man, it's hard to watch because at least never mind. We're not getting into this. We're not getting into it. This is too far. Okay.
Yeah, you made a mistake by saying hard to watch.
I'm sorry. Star Trek. We're a Star Trek podcast. Welcome. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome back, or welcome. If you're joining us again, welcome back. I'm a great host. It's been a long day. If you've been enjoying the podcast in general, you can, if you could give us a review at Apple Podcasts or whatever and be like, hey, this is great, or these guys are too racist, or they are too woke. Either of those spectrums.
Yeah, like they're so woke they are now anti-racist and therefore reverse racist. Sorry.
Yes, we are now reverse racists.
Yeah, that's how woke we is. By the way, what's your name?
Anyway,
whose name?
His name's Marvin. I'm Dan.
Oh right. Oh, I thought you were just saying a thing. I'm Marvin. I'm here.
You're like, I don't get that joke.
I thought you were just referencing something, and I was just like, let's just move on.
You're like, that's a horrible reference. We're not even talking about calling you by your name.
Timothy Chalamet.
Anime movie, Your Name?
Yeah.
Kimi no Nawa?
Yeah. But yeah, that Dan just talking right there. And then we also have Ricardo.
Hello.
Hey. He's our newbie.
Yeah, sort of. He's not really a newbie anymore.
He remains a newbie till he's gotten through the whole thing.
Yeah. You've seen a whole season of Star Trek, though. So you have a general understanding of what Star Trek is now.
We got a bunch of electrolytes running around, shirtless.
However, it's the season that everyone else forgot.
That's true. It gives
almost everyone forgets what the first season was like.
Yes. So it's a very interesting perspective on TNG, considering it is. Some people are told to skip it before starting the series, and they go straight to season 2.
Having watched season 1 twice now, I say no. You should just watch it.
No. Like it's definitely rough, but I think there's some good stuff in there, and like there's stuff in there that if it weren't there, you would be fucking confused. You'd be like,
yeah. And if you are somehow listening to this, not having seen season 1 or listened to our previous podcasts about it, just go back and listen to us as you watch.
Yeah, why not? Anyway,
what else are you going to do with your life?
you could
achieve accomplishments.
This week we watched Elementary Dia Data, which is the first very Sherlock Holmes centric episode of Star Trek, which for people who haven't seen the series before, there's actually a lot of these.
Yeah, like a surprising amount of them.
Yeah,
it's clear that they just really, really wanted to be able to do this every so often.
Yeah, I think it's
they did.
I think it's partially because they like doing the holodeck period pieces.
Yeah,
because it's a change of pace. And Sherlock Holmes is just open. It's there's not copyrighted anymore. So
well, the estate of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle would like to.
Didn't it lapse into open domain?
It's open domain right now.
As of right now, it is. However, the estate was still very litigious and liked to, go after people, even though it was arguable.
Do you think then the production for Star Trek had to actually ask?
I'm not sure. I think there is there's some weird stipulation involving what is written versus what's depicted in like various forms of media. I think there are different sets of rules.
Okay, because they're definitely not doing an adaptation of a Sherlock Holmes book. Right.
But that was one of the things that the estate was always so crazy about. It's there's no way Sherlock Holmes, our great forefather who created him, would have never had him do this. And that's kind of what the issue was with The Great Ace Attorney, which was announced for North American release. So now we got we now have the famed detective Sherlock Holmes gracing our shores this summer.
Right,
and boy, am I excited.
Which is funny because spoilers, there's one of the books, Sherlock and Moriarty fall off a waterfall and they die, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Sir Arthur Conan Doyle literally wrote a sequel to it where Sherlock magically survived because he was people will want another book, so he's not above just making more shit. These weren't very precious books.
I have also heard second, third, maybe at this point, fourth or fifth hand that Conan Doyle or Arthur Conan Doyle was also at some point heard to say that I will consider myself a failure if I'm known as the Sherlock Holmes guy.
Oh no!
I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but I think he had a sentiment somewhat like that.
Right. Oh wow!
Yeah,
I heard that Conan O'Brien was going to do a Conan the Barbarian and Sherlock Holmes crossover movie.
He's playing
starring
both Conan O'Brien.
Yeah.
I'd watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's playing
and then
Sherlock
starring Arnold
Holmes.
Schwarzenegger as Hey Arnold.
It's gonna be on Tubi. It's gonna be on Tubi.
It's a very confusing movie. That's what it was gonna be. But, anyway, this episode aired December. It was the beginning of December 5th, 1988. So Dan, if you could, tell us what happened around that time, that'd be sick.
I am only able to do this because we have swung around the sun. I'm doing my best to incorporate that whenever I start off this segment now because I really like the title of that track.
Yeah, Nate chose a good song. Title.
Yeah, it's a great title. Nice going, Nate. So I only got 3 little things. Surprise, surprise, video game news. Double Dragon 2 was released in arcades in Japan in December. However, strangely, North America got it a month earlier in November, which is pretty rare at the time. Case in point, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, hit North America on the 1st of December. However, Japan already had it almost 2 years earlier on the Famicom Disk System.
2 years?
Almost 2 whole years, and that was before North America even saw the first Zelda game. 2 Zeldas were out in Japan before we ever saw the first. Pretty wild. Kind of like the Super Mario Brothers thing from before. My final bit of news. The very first The Naked Gun from the files of Police Squad released just the day before on the 4th of December.
Very good. Very good.
Rest in peace, Leslie Nielsen.
Wait, he passed away?
Long time ago.
Oh.
Do you think he was still alive?
I don't know.
You're like
he had white hair at the beginning.
Yeah.
Fucking the guy who made all those what's his fucking name? Blazing Saddles and Mel Brooks is still alive. Yeah. It's 92 or something, right?
That's true.
Fucking Trump is still alive, so anybody could be alive at this point.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's true.
With all those cheeseburgers.
They're what keep him going.
Is Kirk Douglas still alive, or is he dead?
Yeah, he's still alive.
That's crazy.
He was, isn't he? Isn't Kirk Douglas? I
don't know, and I actually don't want to look this up.
I'm looking it up.
Okay, do that.
Look up zombie Kirk Douglas and see what pops up.
Oh no! He passed away last year.
Oh
Well,
man.
You really fucked up on that one, dude.
Oh man, and I
Michael
didn't watch the
Douglas is gonna
Oscars
be
last year,
very
so I had
upset,
no
dude.
idea.
Oh, wow. He lived over 100 years.
Yeah.
Jesus.
He was around for the Revolutionary War.
God dang, man.
He lived for 104 years almost.
Hey man,
103
I do want to live
Wow.
104 years.
Ben-Hur was a documentary.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah,
he-
Betty White's still alive too, right? Like all
Yeah,
this.
that's true.
He wasn't in Ben-Hur. That was Charlton Heston.
Yeah, that's a different.
Oh shit, you're right. Fuck.
Old Whiteman was in the movie.
Oh man, I'm trying to. What was it then? Was it Spartacus? Was he
Yeah,
Spartacus?
Spartacus.
Okay.
Yeah, Spartacus. Yeah, because
Rewind. Just cut in
No,
my
it's
saying
all
of
staying
Spartacus.
in.
We're leaving it,
as
we're
a
leaving it.
period.
It's
As a
all fucking in there.
documentary.
Ben-Hur.
Get
Ben-Hur.
fucked.
No, I
Sorry, Kirk
demand you do
Douglas.
more editing work on my behalf. Cover it up.
Get fucked.
Cover me up. Oh god.
When you said Kirk Douglas, in my mind, I actually initially said Michael Douglas. I was like, yeah, he was just an Ant-Man. It's fine.
though they could have gone in the future and gotten Kirk Douglas to play Michael Douglas as an older version.
Oh, yeah.
They really missed a great opportunity.
Yeah. Well, you know.
I'm still
Yeah.
I'm still upset that Colin Hanks looks exactly like Tom Hanks, like young Tom Hanks. And I'm still upset that they haven't used that. Like they're both great actors.
Yeah,
Use them
it's better
both in
than
a
the
movie.
de-aging bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'd be cool.
I'll
Make-
bet that there have been so many spec scripts of Big 2.
You think so?
He only gets slightly younger.
and basically.
Yeah.
He goes from like older middle age to just older.
Yeah, you
And
find
then-
that same coin operated fortune teller
Oh
and
my
you
God.
wish that you were 20 years older as an adult.
Yeah. Why? No. Why would you go forward at that point? You would go backwards.
What if
these
he
were
messed up?
spec
What if he-
scripts.
Yeah, what if he messed up though? Like the machine messed up and he's like, "Oh no, I meant backwards."
Oh no. Yeah, the sequel's name is Unbig, not
Yeah.
big.
Yeah, a
It's
debigulator.
negative big.
Or small. It's just called
Yeah.
small.
It's called Biggie Smalls.
Oh wait, I'm getting a phone call. Hang on. Oh, there's someone on the phone for you, Ricardo.
Ricardo, could you please tell us what happened in this episode?
Oh.
Not even a
really-
hello, Jesus.
She's really enunciating in that thing.
She really does.
Yeah.
She's a professional.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, there's no
all
mistaking
right.
what she said.
So this episode's interesting because I both like it and hate it equally.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
So you have
Ricardo is a
fucking-
man of contrasts.
Yeah.
A land of contrasts.
So the episode starts off
He's a
and
man.
they're gonna rendezvous, which I always think rendezvous as a sexual term for some reason.
Well, in France.
But Picard
yes.
loves
Yeah.
saying rendezvous.
Yeah,
Because he's
we
French.
should rendezvous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
he's
maybe
French.
we don't know. Maybe
And he likes to
maybe the
fuck.
ships are going to fuck. We don't know.
Yeah,
That could-
Probably. A docking bay's got to be used for something.
Yeah,
they could be going to a sex planet again. So,
they could. Yeah.
so they're gonna rendezvous with the Victory, USS Victory.
Mm-hmm.
And good old Data shows up to the engineering and he's like, I'm looking for fucking Geordi. Where the fuck is Geordi? He asked for me. And he's like,
Mhm.
oh, he's right there with the Victory.
Mm-hmm.
And Data's confused as shit. He's like, what do you mean with the Victory? um, and so you realize that Geordi's building this model ship called the Victory. And, it's one of those ships that have sail and stuff.
Yeah,
It's an
Which
old
is
I
time
like-
tended
ship.
to call it a ship in a bottle, but it's not in a bottle at all. It's
No.
it's just a model ship.
Yeah, it's a model ship.
Yeah.
And they're talking about how that's one of Geordi's passions and talking about this bullshit sailing and like how like that's the way to go. And everyone's always looking to the past. Like no one ever says like, dude, we don't have
I
to
can't
wipe our
wait
ass.
for more shit. in the-
Yeah.
Yeah. Why
We
don't
don't-
they say like I'm really looking forward to this holo tape coming up or something? Everyone's always like, oh, I wish.
Yeah. Like
And
like,
it's always the goddamn 20th century.
you think I have a question. You think if they're stuck in the holodeck that they can't use the futuristic bathroom, so they have to use toilet paper?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So they'll have to remember.
Maybe that's a
Yeah.
novelty. It's like you go
Yeah.
to the holodeck to see what it's like.
To take
I
a
have
shit.
to wipe here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, the holodeck's like, we're inundated with jizz and shit. We're tired of it. Oh boy.
There is one weird point of discussion here, which I didn't research into it to confirm or not, but I was just a little confused. So he says this is the original victory,
Yeah.
right? And which is
Mhm.
like the forebearer of like the victory that Geordi worked on as an ensign.
Mhm.
Is that how that works in the military?
They're named after old ships.
Yeah, is it like a mantle, like a superhero mantle or something, where you pass it on to the next ship? when
No,
it's dead?
because you can name it after anything.
Yeah. So then why did he? Is there
Maybe-
any connection at all?
I don't think so.
Other than it's just both also named the Victory at one point, which is a
Yeah.
very common name for a ship, probably.
yeah.
Maybe the writer was just in love with like this idea of legacy.
But that's I don't know.
The USS Stand and Deliver.
How can we get through to these sailors?
Yeah, the USS Kulus. So they're like, hey, Jordy's like, we have some time. Basically, he's like, hey, we got some time. What a great way to fucking waste a fucking episode in the goddamn fucking holodeck.
I know. It's like, oh, we have some time.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you having time means you're going to waste my goddamn time with the goddamn fucking holodeck. And so we, we know that Data likes Sherlock Holmes. So they're like, I'll be your Watson, Geordi says. And he's like, ooh. So they get all suited up and they head into the holodeck. And of course, Geordi's going to be Watson and Data's going to be Sherlock Holmes.
You know what
And-
this feels like to me? This
Mhm.
feels like the beginning of a Wishbone episode.
And Data is Wishbone.
I guess. Because Wishbone has been Sherlock Holmes too.
Oh yeah,
But,
Wishbone has
like
been
it's
many a
usually
character.
like framed in like this, like, hey, out in the real world, they're obsessed with like this thing, in this case the ship. It's supposed to represent something greater by the end of the episode. We'll get back to that.
Yeah, this is
But
actually.
in the meantime, let's go have a goddamn adventure over there with the main character in a Sherlock hat.
This was like adapted from the original pilot episode for Wishbone. And
Yes.
then
What's the story, Data?
And so basically you quickly find out that as soon as they get into the holodeck, it seems like Data is ahead of everything that's happening, basically.
yeah.
So there's like these I think they're policemen or something, and they're about to knock on the door, and Data knows that they're going to knock on the door because he's read every single book
Mm-hmm.
that Arthur Conan Doyle or Conan O'Brien has
Conan O'Brien.
Yeah.
He was a writer before the Conan show.
That's true. He was a writer on The Simpsons, and so so there's nothing. They quickly realize that, and this leads to Geordi just fucking walking out of the fucking holodeck.
He's so mad.
Yeah, he's so
He
upset.
gets so pissed off.
which makes sense. Like basically, like he's not enjoying the journey because he knows all the possible outcomes and he knows all the possible storylines.
I don't want to hang out with Wikipedia, Data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he walks out and he's like, "Dude, you're a bitch ass fool, dude. You know all."
I gotta love
Bitch ass Data.
You're a bitch ass fool, man.
Fucking bitch ass.
And Data literally walks out. I mean, Geordi walks out and he's like, you've got, like, you walk in and you have it solved. Like that's not fun.
Yeah.
There's no mystery in it. There's
Yeah.
no game. There's no fun by just solving it because we don't get to have like an experience.
Mm-hmm.
Quit cheating.
Yeah. And basically they're talking and all of a sudden the new doctor. So we're never going to see Beverly Crusher again? Okay. I don't need to know. That's what you gotta say. You don't need to know. I did want to know if she was never gonna show up, but you answered the question enough. And so basically, the new doctor is by the way, they've gone to the bar now.
Right, they're in 10
'Cause they're
forward
like,
now.
We've spent all this money on this bar set. We got to fucking really use it. Every
Yeah.
fucking
Mhm.
episode now, bar scene.
Basically, yeah.
And they're still wearing their Sherlock Holmes. What is it? Elizabethan? No, is that the time?
No, as Elizabethan.
What do they mean by Elizabethan?
I think that's like before they didn't really even wear suits, right?
Is that before or after Victorian?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know
what's
British.
the Tudor timeline?
Yeah,
we're getting into some territory where we don't know. Let's not Wikipedia this.
I refuse to commit to anything.
I don't know.
Somebody's gonna leave a rating for the show, and it's like they spent 30 minutes talking about fucking Elizabethan times.
They don't even know what they're talking about.
They don't even know.
They didn't even know that the ties back then weren't tied that way. They went this way.
Yeah.
Without even one mention of a cravat.
Yeah. So basically, they're at the bar and they're still wearing their costumes, and the doctor chimes in, and she basically says, "Well, we all know she's robophobic, and she hates fucking Data." And she basically says, like, he's a computer, so there's no possibility of failure if he knows all the outcomes. There's no scenario where where he could possibly lose.
Right.
He's gonna figure it out no matter what. And they basically suggest, like, oh, well, there's got to be something that they could figure out, that the computer could figure out, that Data hasn't figured out yet. I mean,
well,
the storyline.
Her assertion is that even though Data has all the data about Sherlock Holmes, he's incapable of actually solving like a novel problem. She thinks he can only solve things because
he knows the outcome.
Yeah, he's
the issue is that he can solve every novel problem.
That's true. Yeah. Sick burn, dude.
You got me. I'm fucked. I'm wrecked.
Yeah.
But basically, she's doubting Data's deductive capabilities.
Yeah,
saying you're not actually Sherlock Holmes. You're just copying him based on information you already have heard, and it's just rote memorization versus actual like human deduction and reasoning.
Yeah.
And Dory's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
He's cool. He knows.
I like Data. I like hanging out with them. So they go back to the holodeck, and this time the doctor goes with them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a challenge, and basically they program the computer to have a scenario where it's basically a Sherlock Holmes style story, but one that is not written by Sherlock Holmes. I mean, Sir Conan Doyle. And Conan O'Brien, that's right. I apologize to all the Conan O'Brien fans.
You know, Marge versus the Monorail is my favorite Sherlock Holmes story.
and so they're like, we're gonna come up with a story that's not written by Conan O'Brien, and it's truly original. And then Geordi throws in something that really fucks it up. And as soon as he said it, you're like, oh, things are gonna go awry. As soon as he said it, I was like, they're fucked, dude. Someone's gonna get shot in the face, dude. Which he says, Geordi says, give him an opponent that what is the right wording?
He says it's something along the lines of create an opponent that can challenge Data specifically. The important word is
that can beat Data, basically.
Yeah. The specific word is Data. He said Data instead of Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Which becomes a problem.
Yeah. A big problem. And so they get in there, and it's sure enough, it's old timey times. And so Geordi says, computer, in a Holmesian style, create a mystery to confound Data with an opponent who has the ability to defeat him.
Mm-hmm.
To defeat him,
yeah. And then the computer wants to know how far to take it. And then she says, well, let's take risks. And he's whatever is necessary to accomplish the directive.
Mm-hmm.
So really, there's no parameters that the computer will go to.
Mm-hmm. And this is the beginning of like this implies some really awesome power.
Yep.
In the computer, man.
This is why
all you have to do is give it a little bit of a power surge. Like you can tell it to like, hey, can you like become God for a second?
Yeah. And so back on the bridge, Worf is like, oh fuck, man, Lieutenant, this is an odd power surge. and and that's it.
Yeah,
And
it's just a weird cutaway.
Yeah, he's all, it's gone now. Forget it. And like,
It probably just
when-
created a soul, whatever.
yeah, they're like, yeah, they're like, we need to get paid for this episode because we're not in it very much. So let's have a couple lines. SAG won't let us get paid unless we have a few lines.
Yeah.
So basically, there's a surge. Like there's a surge or a weird blip, and then the thing goes awry.
Which fucks stuff.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but we don't learn the most important lesson, which is the computer's too smart and too. You don't know what you're fucking with.
Right.
Stop.
You don't know what
fucking
you're
with
messing
AI.
with.
Yeah. Stop messing with the
Well,
fucking
to
holodeck.
be fair,
Just keep it for just sexting, having sex, and shitting old timey style. And that's it.
to be fair, why would the holodeck ever have the capability to affect shit outside of the holodeck?
Well,
Why
Yeah,
why
it's
was
just
it
the
ever?
weirdest thing in the world? Like the fact that the holodeck is able to do what you ask it to just because you ask it to
yeah.
is probably why so many people hate this episode. Because this is like one of the more hated episodes. No,
Well, okay, so that brings up an interesting thing because I remembered this episode because of the conceit. Like, I understand why the premise is frustrating because it's just like I can't believe the computer would just do that, right? But I actually personally ended up really liking the episode.
okay, yeah,
surprisingly.
and okay, now remembering how I felt when I was reviewing it, like this was over a week ago now, but like at first I was like, Jesus Christ, this setup is the worst, and then the more Moriarty got to do his thing, I was like, oh wait, no, him, yeah, he's cool.
Yeah.
The episode is basically like a convoluted way to get Moriarty there. And also, a convoluted way to get, Brent Spiner to do more fun work. But I also enjoy that canonically Data is like a huge fan of Sherlock Holmes
and to the point where I think they were kind of setting it up even with the Dixon stuff. Like he was still
definitely
interested in Holmes like at the time.
But also not just Dixon, but remember that episode where they're trying to see if there was like those whatever ambassadors that came on board were like responsible for the murder, and then he had read Sherlock Holmes and he was using a pipe.
Yeah,
so he was already a fan of Sherlock Holmes way back then, and now he's being indulged by Jordy. He's like, oh my god, I get to cosplay.
Hold on a second. Was he turned on to Sherlock Holmes because of Dixon?
No.
And then it was like recommended to him, and it was like, oh wait, Sherlock, and then he went and read everything.
No, it was before that. I remember them talking about Sherlock specifically, and he was like, what is that? And then he kind of accessed it, and then ever since then he became, I want to say it was one of the early episodes, and then he would always reference it. He would always reference Sherlock Holmes.
Maybe,
but
now I'm confused if Data was actually talking about Dixon Hill with the pipe. Because
I don't think so.
Did Dixon Hill also have a pipe?
No, not Dixon Hill.
Now. Okay.
Listeners, help.
Yeah, Dixon Hill had some weed.
Dixon Hill vapes.
Yeah,
Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Dixon quote Cypress end quote Hill.
Dixon to Cypress Hill.
So back to this episode. Back to old Moriarty. So then they get into the holodeck and they set all these parameters. Well, basically they break down the firewall of the computer. And they're like,
basically.
Computer, do whatever the fuck you want. Create the greatest villain. First of all, bring the greatest villain of probably all time. I mean, smart. Like he's probably the smartest villain of all time.
Yeah.
And then let's see, give him full control of everything, and let's see what happens. So they go in there, they walk into the world, and then Moriarty's there, and he sees them talking to the computer, and he sees the Ark.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets closer, and basically he asks what it is, and the computer says, "Oh, I'm the Ark." Then it's a control to the holodeck, and he starts realizing like, "Oh, this is interesting," and he's like, "I need to know more." And so he tells the Ark to go away, and I guess some lady of the night, a whore in the back, she's like, "Oh my god, you're a goddamn sorcerer!" And she fucking bolts out of there.
You're a wizard.
You're a wizard, Harry. And she bolts out of there.
Moriarty.
Yeah. And it was really weird because the next scene is like Jordy and and Data walking around, and they're like, "All right, well, what are you doing?" And then the doctor's not there, and they don't explain why the doctor's not there.
She just disappears. Yeah.
She just disappears, and like the previous scene, she was behind, like he was right behind her, behind them.
Mhm.
Sorry. So anyway, they hear a scream, and then they go back. What seems like they just literally turn around and go back half a block, and her
Yeah.
shoes on the floor.
Right.
And Data starts really kind of like doing some fucking Sherlock Holmes shit, which is like, oh, she was carried away by two men. One of them was left-handed, and blah blah. He starts breaking down like the crime scene and stuff.
He deduces the shit out of that shoe.
Yeah.
He did. Yeah. Throughout the whole thing, like, because before that there was the actual problem that the computer had made for Data to solve. Because the Moriarty thing is like a separate problem.
Yeah.
Right.
It actually had created a actual mystery for Data to solve, and he solved it in like 5 seconds. And he says, "I don't have time for this. I gotta move on to the actual Moriarty issue."
And so they're going down. So they see this murder that happened, and he like you said, he solves it pretty fast.
Right.
and then they're like, "Oh, Mr. Sherlock Holmes, you solved this thing." But then he goes to see the Moriarty thing, and he finds Moriarty, and something interesting happens. Is that this, while he's been solving this case, Moriarty's been growing smarter and smarter because he's learning about computer, and basically Moriarty has access to the computer files.
Yeah, it seems to be like direct access, because he explains it as he's seeing like images and realities and shit at the edges of his consciousness or something like that.
Yeah,
which is weird.
What I think too is, so this is the part of the episode I really enjoy. I hate that it's a holodeck episode, but I like the AI version of it, which is basically, I think Moriarty is, I would even say, a smarter version of Data, but that doesn't have a body.
Maybe. Yeah.
That's what I think.
mean, it's kind of amazing that a computer can create something as smart as Data just from a command.
Yeah.
But I think they canonically are trying to say he is his match, as Moriarty would be to Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah,
so I think it's interesting that you now have this he's not lore, for example. He's not like straight evil. He's just trying to understand what's going on at all.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how like this character inherently has this element of suspension of disbelief, that you have to start from his origin of, we told the computer to make a guy smart enough to beat Data.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you believe that can happen just because they say so, then he is the greatest adversary.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you're skeptical, you're like, I don't know. Did they really beat him by the end of this?
Yeah, I don't think they beat him. I think he relented. Clearly, he relented. Like, I don't think. What's that sound?
I'm just curious, because like it by the end of this, it didn't feel like he handily beat Data, right?
I mean, I don't think he beat him, but so what I think is he would have beat them. I think.
Yeah.
We're getting ahead of it.
I was about to say we're getting a little ahead. So when we get there, we'll have that discussion, because I think it is a really interesting discussion.
Yeah.
And there is a bit of something else we can talk about that related to that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
sure.
And this actor is really great. I love this actor. He's a character actor,
right?
But he is fucking.
He's killing it in this episode.
Killing it, dude.
Yeah.
He was in The Prestige. He was in The Hunt for Red October. He's in a bunch of shit.
Daniel Davis.
Yeah, you really believe that he is figuring out his own universe.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. So he's basically saying like he's seeing all these realities past his consciousness. He's understanding all these things, and basically he has direct access to the files. We even hear so he's understanding everything. He's understanding our past, our present. He's understanding everything, and he hands Data a picture. And he's like, "Hey, he basically is like, here." He can't figure out what this says. Basically, he's like, "What is this?" And he gives. He's still calling him Holmes, by the way. He's like, "Holmes, what is this?" And Data is fucking shocked. Data's like, "What the?"
Which is really unusual for Data to act as if he's afraid.
Yeah. And then Geordi just follows him, and they run out, and they get out of the holodeck, and they ask the computer to override the protocol. And that was initiated and shut down the simulation. And it says it can't be shut down. And they go back in, and
This
they're
is
like,
just crazy.
Fuck.
Yeah, that is contrived. It's
Yeah.
just contrived.
Yeah. And so they're like, oh fuck, shit, we gotta talk to the captain. And Geordi's like, by the way, I don't know why he doesn't show Geordi the paper right away. I get it's for dramatic effect, but why didn't, as he was walking away, he just go, Geordi, what the fuck, dude? What the fuck's going on, dude?
Yo,
The only thing I can think of is that he didn't, because he had a conversation before. They talked to Moriarty. He said, we have to give him as little information as possible.
True,
So he may not have wanted to let Moriarty know that he knows that's weird.
Yeah.
So maybe he ran away just to not show him that. But I don't know.
And basically,
Yeah,
Moriarty, the picture that Moriarty drew is a picture of the Enterprise.
Yes.
A very shit picture of the Enterprise. Like, I get it. Like, it's a horrible picture.
It's just a side
You think
profile
for somebody,
picture,
if you think Moriarty's like the greatest, like he could probably draw better, dude. You know,
that would actually be really cool if it was like one of those like kind of like one of those wood block pictures with all the stippling and like shading, you know.
and so they go to the captain and they present this thing, and
it's really funny because now it's like way late in the episode and Picard finally shows up and he's like, what's going on?
He's like, what the fuck's going on?
Why are you two dressed like that?
And basically what they deduce is that Geordi gave the wrong command, basically.
Yeah.
This is all Geordi's fault.
Yeah,
clearly.
yeah.
Because he said an adversary that would be Data and not Holmes.
Yes.
So that's why I stand by the fact that that Moriarty is way smarter than Data could ever be. I stand by that statement because of that. Because in order to be Data, you have to be smarter than Data and know more than Data. So I don't know. That's where I stand. And basically, the captain's like, he says shit in French. That's the first time we see. He's like, oh shit.
I think he's done it before.
Has he?
I think he has said murder before. I don't remember where, but I'm pretty sure we've heard him say it in another episode.
So and they're like, okay, so what could we do? What are the options here? And they're like, we can't shut down the thing. So what are the options? And then they're like, well, Geordi's like, we can bring in like something from engineering, like, and then they would basically blast the fucking holodeck, right?
So I pulled this because the way Geordi delivers the line and his line of logic is very weird. So I just wanted to play it.
Captain, recommend we attempt to destroy the hologram generations themselves. Is that possible, Geordi?
Using waveguides, I could split a particle beam out of the matter-antimatter chamber and run it down through existing conduit into the holodeck. If accelerated to sufficient velocity, that would quite literally wash away all present holographic constructs. The London buildings, the streets, the people, all gone, including Moriarty.
Dr. Pulaski?
Well, a particle beam will tear apart human flesh as well.
So that's probably the first thing you should bring up.
Yeah.
Well, you should be like, well, yeah, we could get rid of the hologram. It'll blow everything up, though. Like,
maybe Geordi was already thinking ahead to, well, we are in a situation where ostensibly an AI is in control of our entire ship.
Yeah.
Who's obsessed with beating one of our crewmen.
Maybe he was thinking, oh, Pulaski's expendable. She's kind of an asshole of Data anyway. We can let her go.
I mean, he's witnessed her assholing or her assholery toward Data on several occasions now.
They're kind of in this predicament because of her.
A little bit. What's funny is that like this whole meeting feels kind of like the kids like sheepishly going up to their parents to be like, we broke a neighbor's window with our ball.
Yeah.
We were playing and I asked the computer to make an adversary capable of beating Data, and I'm sorry.
It's a Sandlot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forever.
And so basically they're like, well, it makes sense, like, because it's basically the holodeck is making life. We've kind of
Yeah, like it's literal lives.
Well, to the point where Troy can start sensing him as a consciousness.
Yeah, so that's the next scene is
like that's the weird part of this to me, because I think I almost wish they didn't have that, because that pretty much solidifies. Oh yeah, there's a life. This is because she senses it. If she didn't have that scene, you could have this debate of like, well, is he sentient? Is he alive? Like, we don't know.
Yeah.
Is he just a really good computer? But the moment she goes, oh, I'm sensing this unifying consciousness and whatever, and you're like, oh, he's alive.
Yeah.
The holodeck is confirmed able to create
And
fucking life.
and basically
It's
they're like,
nuts,
oh
man.
yeah, and the mortality failsafe has probably been overwritten by the way.
For some reason.
He can kill her probably. and then the captain goes, hey, computer, where's Dr. Pulaski? And she's like, oh, she's stable. She's in the holodeck. Yeah, all right, cool.
Yeah.
And so they're like, basically they're like, should we just, do we send in Worf to just go in there and just blast everybody? You know,
I mean, here's a question. They've established on several occasions the holodeck provides an illusion of space, right?
Mhm.
That means
Right.
Pulaski is somewhere in that little square room.
Right.
Why can't they get a lock with a transporter and just...
Don't worry about it.
that's true. Call Jason Statham, and he'll go in
There
there
you
and
go.
just kick fucking Moriarty in the chest.
Yeah.
but no, Jason would rather go to London himself.
Yeah. Oh, fuck you, mate.
You think the computer made a villain that can defeat Data, huh? But you
Call
can't
this
defeat
London.
me.
This is even the real London.
Statham would just rip half of his fucking uniform off, and it'd just be the top half, the shirt part. Yeah, and he's like, Data, oil me up, mate. And then he's like,
Give
all
me
right,
some of that horse carriage oil.
It's just, and they oil him up, and he's like, all right, now I need bicycle pedals.
You don't have bicycle pedals in this world? How about
He's like,
horseshoes? Just give me some
horseshoes.
horseshoes.
Fuck you, mate. And he's
Nail
like,
them
why do
to
you
my-
keep saying? Why do you keep saying fuck you, mate? Calm down, dude.
We're your friends. We're helping you.
Yeah, we're coworkers. You fucking.
But he wasn't
anyway.
there that episode.
Yeah.
It was Miles O'Brien at the transporter room, so he couldn't get a lock on Pulaski.
No,
God damn it,
Or-
Miles.
or
Get drunk.
or a lock on the transporter, the main transporter. So anyway, they're like, okay, well, we're fucked basically,
Yes.
and the ship keeps shaking. Like Moriarty keeps fucking with the ship, and I'm sure he doesn't know that how he's doing it.
He just found like this one thing, and he's like, "I'll hook it up to this lever."
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Cool. I can make it shake.
Yeah.
And then there's an interesting scene because then we see the Doctor and Moriarty interacting.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been clearly interacting for hours, you know?
Right.
And they've got a thing, dude. If the Doctor's stuck in here for another fucking hour, and she's gonna fuck him.
I mean, she does look like if he wasn't going to turn evil, that
Yeah.
she might start being like, "So, what are you doing later tonight?" It's sort of
Well, she does clearly find him intellectually stimulating, which seems to be like a big, like something she's clearly interested in, generally speaking.
Yeah.
Right.
And basically, he woos her with crumpets and
lumps
and lumps and tea, and they
Lumps
So
for
basically,
you.
like he's wooing her with his sweet tea. You know what I mean? And they have a thing, dude, and I like that, like because she seems like a fucking hard ass.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see her be kind of vulnerable when she's talking with somebody who's really smart and like.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of sweet, and I don't think Moriarty in this is a bad guy.
I think by this point in the story, he has probably overcome the origins of his villainous programming, and is probably just trying. Like he probably has some villainous tendencies just because he started that way. Like the
but like he doesn't have Holmes to be antagonistic toward either. He has no like usual target. And he instead has this new, much more fascinating mystery of like, where the hell am I? Who am I? What is all this?
Yeah. And at this point, he's just trying to figure that out. And he doesn't really want to actually fuck anybody up, I think.
Also, to Dr. Pulaski's credit, she is doing an admirable job of giving him as little information as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Well, trying to.
Yeah, well, but while engaging him at the same time.
Yeah.
So that he doesn't like, go all crazy or nothing.
But even he says like, I know you're holding back, and what you don't say to me says more than what you do say to me.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And basically, like he's figured out a lot of things, and at one point, he knows how to do different commands. And first of all, he makes the arch appear again, and then she's like, oh, "What is that?" She's all,
yeah.
And he's like, "Don't fucking play." And he's basically figured out a bunch of commands, but he can't figure out like the last command. I don't know for what. I think it's a full takeover of the ship, probably.
Yeah, or to leave the holodeck.
Or to leave the
maybe.
holodeck.
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oi. And then he gets to run into the transporter. But anyway, they have this interesting conversation about basically him figuring her out. Like, hey, I get it, and he's basically waiting for Jean-Luc Picard to show up. Like, he knows he's going to show up. That's how fucking smart he is. And of course, old fucking Jean-Luc Picard is dressed up as a character as well.
Yeah,
and then you see Worf dressed up.
Which is completely useless.
Yeah, and
he doesn't.
He never actually goes in.
But not just that, but if you're all dressed up, but they didn't do anything like bother to cover up his head ridges. So then he would just go into the world. Everyone would just be like, "Oh my god, what is that on your head?"
There's no way to blend in as Worf.
Yeah. And so they go back in there, and he's fucking with the holodeck. Like, parts of the holodeck you could see the edge of the room. That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
like it's turning a little bit Tron.
And and all the other characters are kind of like all hunched over, like something's happening to them. Like they're
like he's fucking with the programming of the characters.
Mm-hmm.
And then at one point, they try to mug Jean-Luc Picard.
Yeah.
And Data stops him, and he just really pinches his pinky, and he stops him. Yeah. It's really weird.
It's a really strong pinch.
Yeah. And so he foils the robbery, and then basically they're like, "Oh fuck! I think the mortality thing is gone. We could die, so they gotta be careful." So they go back to Moriarty, and Worf, of course, is outside the holodeck, ready to fucking go in there and just start hitting people because Jason Statham's not there. So he's like, "I'm the next badass here,
right?
But my shirt stays on,
right?"
And so he basically, the captain comes in and he's like, "Are you okay?" Tells the doctor, and I don't know why I just sound like Stallone there. Hey, yo, you all right?
Oh, another potential Picard.
Yeah, dude. Hey, Data.
Data.
Hey, Data.
Hey, Beverly.
Neutral's a war zone.
Yeah.
If
my God,
Klingons can change and humans can change, then we all can change.
Yeah. God damn it. He's our new Picard.
Then American flags explode onto the holodeck.
And so Picard's like, hey, are you okay? And the doctor's like, yeah, I'm fine. She seems like she's drunk, by the way.
Yeah, because she can
a little bit.
It almost looked like she was like almost like caught post make out with him or something, because she got up and like kind of put her clothes back on a little bit. It was like a little unfurled, and she was like,
there something in her lumps?
Oh no.
Moriarty definitely felt her up, dude. And that was like third base and back in those days. He's like, "You're showing me your ankle. Let me rub all over you." So he's Picard's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, basically, I'm a villain, but I'm still civilized, you piece of shit.
She's like, I'm fine. I'm just full of crumpets, or something like that.
She says something odd, like being stuffed full of crumpets.
She's crammed full of crumpets.
I'm crammed full of crumpets.
Yeah. And Moriarty's like, "I'm a civilized abductor, Captain Picard." Civilized, but still dangerous. And so he's still fucking with the ship with his little lever. Yeah. And everybody's like, "What fuck? What is he gonna do? What is he gonna do?" And basically, they have an interesting conversation where Moriarty's like, he's trying to figure out what he is, which is what every holodeck character wants to know. This is a repeat of fucking Dixon Hill, which is, what are we? And it's kind of really sad.
We're finally re-exploring that thing that was just slightly alluded to at Dixon Hill, and now it's like the episode's about it. Yeah,
it was just plopped on the table before. It's like, think about it. This time they're actually letting you think about it a little more.
Yes.
And Moriarty basically says, "Hey, I'm learning more and more, and I'm figuring out things more and more, and I know I have some power here with this lever." And he's like, he's like, "I know I could affect the vessel, so I know I could affect things that are outside of this room."
Mm-hmm.
And the basically tells him, like, you can't leave. Like Picard goes, "If you leave the holodeck, you'll die." You're right.
So this whole exchange where they talked about it.
Yeah.
I brought it up because Daniel Davis is doing a really, really excellent acting job, and he's one of the few actors who've arrived in the show who can actually like kind of keep up with Jean-Luc Picard.
Yeah,
in the acting.
100%.
So I wanted to pull it because this is a really, really great dialogue scene.
I want my existence. I want it out there, just as you have yours. That may not be possible. Then you must murder me, Captain.
I cannot give you what you want.
Because you do not know how to convert holodeck matter into a more permanent form.
Yes, that is so.
A pity. What I have seen, what I have learned, fascinates me. I do not want to die.
And I do not want to kill you.
That's really fucking interesting because he starts off by being like, if you can't save me from here, I would rather you kill me.
Yeah.
And then the part towards the end, or the things I've seen, you get like Blade Runner, like kind of deja vu.
Yeah, a little bit, huh?
Where you're like, oh, he knows he's probably not gonna get out of here.
Yeah.
So he's
become self-aware.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah,
like painfully so.
And the performance for it is really interesting because this is the first time where, despite his words, you look at Moriarty's expressions, which we can't on the podcast, unfortunately, but you can tell he's kind of scared.
Yeah,
like he's really afraid of what's going to happen, and he's not really Moriarty anymore. He's just Moriarty by name.
Yeah, and I forgot. We went past the thing, which was that he stopped referring to Data as to Data as Sherlock Holmes, and he referred to him as Data.
Yeah, so at that point, he's now fully aware of the circumstances, and
because there is a part where he like explicitly calls out the fact that's like I know you're playing Holmes, but you're not him.
Yes.
And like that's a big moment of like, oh, wait a minute, there's something else going on.
That's even in their first encounter. Actually, he goes Holmes, but not Holmes. Watson, but not Watson. So it's interesting.
It's like, I know, I'm on to you. Watson isn't a black guy. He doesn't have that crazy thing on his face.
Yeah.
And basically says like, I've learned from the computer that I'm energy. And Picard's like, yeah, well, you may be entirely true, but you may be more than that. And they continue this interesting conversation that from what you played, and basically it's another conversation of what are these people that we're making? Are they conscious? Are they actually? Did we make people that? And I state that they did because Deanna Troi felt him. Outside the fucking
to me that confirms that he's real.
Yeah,
because the fact that she can start sensing him as
I think as soon as you become self-aware of what the holodeck is, like, this is a machine that makes things inside of it, and once you realize that you're in it, that you become self-aware,
right?
And you basically become more than AI. You become a being. You like figure out like, oh, I'm more than just a program. This part is really deep and shit. This is what I like about this episode. But I hate the holodeck episodes. I hate in general that they're so stupid and they made a fucking virus in here. They keep fucking it up, dude. And they keep going back.
A problem in
it's so dangerous.
Universe thing. There's no reason the holodeck should exist in the universe. Like as it's presented to us. There should be limits and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's also one of the greatest opportunities to explore like big old concepts like this. So
yeah.
I would love to see a Star Trek movie, where you realize it's all a simulation in the holodeck. And
it just turned out that like this whole adventure was
There's probably at least one X-Men story like that.
Oh yeah, like the danger room went too far.
Yeah.
It turns out we're all in Saint Elsewhere's universe.
What's that called? That character who
Bobby Westfall.
Yeah, Westfall. Yeah.
Wait, is that Professor X's son?
No. You never heard of this Westfall thing?
No.
So because of circumstances, this one character, Bobby Westfall, connects all TV shows together into one universe.
Oh,
so everything is part of one canon. essentially.
So that's how Aubrey Plaza gets connected to things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
The Westfall thing, whatever it's called, basically, like, so at the end of the show, Saint Elsewhere, you realize that the whole show, like, what's his name was in it? Fucking Denzel Washington was in the show. A bunch of actors were in the show. A bunch of people, a bunch of famous people, and you realize that at the end of the show that none of this whole, because it's kind of like ER, like it's about a hospital
Mhm.
called Saint Elsewhere, and at the end you realize that this whole universe, it was in Bobby Westfall's, because he's autistic, was all in his head, and he just imagined it. And he's
see.
playing with the snow globe, and the snow globe, there's a hospital in the snow globe, and it says Saint Elsewhere. So he imagined this whole thing, everything,
Holy
every
crap,
storyline.
They went with the snow globe thing?
Yeah. So
Nice.
this kid imagined it. So, but the problem is that I love this Bobby Westfall thing. The problem
This
is
is
that
Tommy Westfall, I think.
Bobby Westfall.
Oh, it's Bobby. Okay.
Bobby
okay.
Westfall. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
And so you realize that all these Saint Elsewhere characters cameoed at one point on other shows.
Mhm.
So you realize, and then
Oh.
that other show had a cameo on another show, because they would do that a lot back then. And so you realize that the Bobby Westfall thing affects every fucking show on TV.
Yeah.
Every show on TV.
One of the most important connecting characters, I think, is Jonathan Munch, who is a detective that shows up in both Homicide: Life on the Street,
yeah.
Law and Order SVU, Arrested Development,
Mhm.
A bunch of shit. Even
Wait a
even
minute.
Sesame
This
Street.
is way more universe crossing than I
yes,
realized.
The
Yes.
people went through it, and it's literally every TV show ever.
Yeah. Because they connect all the cameos on other shows, and then that show had a cameo with this one, and then so they connected. It's basically all TV, and basically, if you break it down, every show on TV is in Bobby's head, in Bobby Westfall's head.
Has Kevin Bacon evolved?
Yeah, that he is Kevin Bacon.
Jesus. It's like we asked a computer to create an adversary good enough to defeat Kevin Bacon.
And
And
he's
they
like Bobby
created Saint
Westfall.
Elsewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
All right, so back to the show. Bobby fucking Westfall. So basically, they have some more conversation about what he is, and again, this actor is doing a great job of showing both that he's a villain and he's smart,
Mhm.
and a lot of vulnerability. That
Right.
what you said is that he's kind of scared of his mortality, because now he knows he's more than the story, more than this character. Now he knows everything. Now he
Right.
knows more than Data. So he
Right.
has all this knowledge, and he's self-aware, and he knows he can't live outside the thing. But how they solve it is basically Picard says, "I can't take you out," but and he's like, "Please don't kill me." And basically what he does is he says, he basically saves them. He's like, save this setting, save these characters. He's like, the ship that we're on has a crazy amount of computing power and storage.
And
We got a whole
Moriarty's
terabyte.
Like, shut up, baby.
Yeah.
I know it.
Yeah. He's like, we have a whole terabyte of storage.
Hey, man, in 88, that's ridiculous.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. That's the whole
Yeah.
internet.
Yeah.
Several
and it's
times
funny.
over.
Yeah. I have the smallest credit card hard drive, and it's 1 terabyte. And imagine
Yep.
back then, like, this would fill rooms and rooms, dude.
Yeah.
So anyway, so they're like, hey, we're going to save you. So Moriarty relents, and he gives back access to certain parts of the computer. He basically gives like computer access back to Picard and the crew. And
This is starting to feel like Undertale. We save Moriarty by saving him.
yeah, it's really crazy. And then the Doctor and him have one more time, and he basically says, I'll see you once again. Moriarty tells the Doctor, and the Doctor's like, well, by the time like we figure this out of how to get you out, like they definitely have a thing, dude. They definitely have a thing.
She's like, I might be an older woman.
Yeah, and she's like, I'll be an old woman by then. And Moriarty's like, well, I'll still fill you up with crumpets, madame.
Which is
if you know what I mean.
I'm gonna slang.
I'm gonna cram him.
Yeah.
Dicks.
And anyway, and so that's how it ends. And he summons his arch, and they gives him back control, and they leave, and that is it. And then there's a whole like a end credit scene, what I call. his when they talk a little bit more about the actual ship and stuff.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, the wishbone conclusion.
Yeah, the wishbone conclusion. But yeah, I thought this is both. Again, I stand by my statement. It's the worst episode and the best episode.
So now that we've gone to the ending, so it's pretty clear that Moriarty is actually. I think we can all agree that Moriarty actually concedes, right?
Yes.
It's not that they defeat him.
Nope.
It's that Moriarty decides to be like, okay, I understand now, and I don't want to kill everyone actually. So if you can figure out a way, let me know, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
he beat them basically.
Yeah, he had defeated them entirely, but
he could have killed all the humans.
Yeah, but chose not to have a Pyrrhic victory. He chose to wait, right?
Yeah.
And it's not like, well, okay, I would put like a qualifier there because it's like the way he won wasn't necessarily exclusively to his ingenuity. It's like the computer did kind of help him. It gave him access to the arch and all that other stuff, which allowed him to fuck with shit.
Right.
So like, and that was what he was leveraging over everyone.
Right. But so the interesting part is, that end credit scene, as you called it, where they're talking about the ship again. So that was actually an alternate ending. The original ending for the show is that
he gets out.
Picard talked to somebody. I forget what character, but he's talking to someone and he explains that actually Moriarty could have left at any time.
What?
Yeah. He says he knew that he could leave at any time because when Data left, he carried the piece of paper with him out of the holodeck, which is why he rushes out. That's actually the point of that scene, to show that the paper can leave. So that would mean that the fail-safes that prevent holographic things from leaving the holodeck was malfunctioning. Which means Moriarty could have left, and Picard's whole speech is actually him tricking him into staying in the holodeck.
What a gambit.
So they originally cut that ending because I think the producer said that makes Picard seem like a huge dick.
Kinda, yeah.
Because he's kind of being deceitful to him. I think probably if it was acted as written and Moriarty was more overtly villainous, that would have probably worked as an ending. But because Daniel Davis played the character as really pretty sympathetic by the end, because he's kind of afraid and like, he just wants to know what's going on. And you see that in his performance.
Positively existential.
Yeah, I think that's when they were like, yeah, basically Picard's lying to him and they're probably never going to bring him back sort of thing, right?
That would have been a really good ending though.
It would have been a really interesting ending.
And it would have shown that Picard is
super smart and he actually won. That means Picard won, actually.
Yeah, true.
So that definitely would have changed the way the ending would have felt. I do definitely think it would have made Picard seem kind of a dick, because at that point, why not have Moriarty be able to leave and be like, okay, well, we'll then show you, right? He basically did it just to keep him under control. Yeah,
like once he's out of the holodeck, it's not like he remains a god outside of the holodeck.
Yeah.
He can't keep fucking with everything else outside.
Basically, what's fucking with it is the fact that he's controlling that lever and the computer hooked it up for him. Right?
It's like I have this ship shaking machine.
Yeah, but basically, once he leaves the holodeck, he'd basically be like a person, and you can just learn like a person and like become a member of society, essentially, probably. But
that would produce, or like just going down that road would produce such a crazy line of like questions and considerations. It's like,
right. Which is why narratively they don't do it here.
Yeah, you can just, if you have enough energy to do it, you can just create life after life after life, and make them all super smart, and they'll learn your entire universe and figure out all your shit for you.
Which is fucking crazy. Which means it turns out the holodeck is basically...
It's a god machine.
Yeah, it is. The holodeck is essentially a better replicator at that point.
It's almost a literal Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah. So...
Yeah, it's a sex machine. Like Dan said.
Yep. Play a tape back.
Deus Sex Machina.
Yeah, so that was the original ending. And then, but I think... So apparently the writers, well, okay. So I'm just glancing at it again. Okay, so apparently it was removed by Gene Roddenberry, and the producer actually disagreed of the show. So Maurice Hurley. So I actually kind of agree with Gene's decision because
point 2 for Gene.
Because I honestly think it would have made Picard seem like the only reason he wants to do this is because he's like he doesn't consider it a real life and he just wants to get it out of the way. You know, which is kind of shitty because Troy basically confirmed it's alive. You know,
like you said, like if Moriarty's character had been depicted as like especially villainous or malicious specifically, like throughout the course of the episode, like deception like that would feel more justified.
Yeah,
and like easier to swallow.
But he was so much more interesting than that, which is
yeah. And since it didn't play out like that within the episode, I agree that it's a good thing that they didn't have Picard trick him.
Right. So anyway, what would he rate this episode out of 10 starships? What do we think?
I would go with 7 starships.
7 starships. Okay.
Yeah.
What would you think, Dan?
Not to be boring, but 7 sounds about right for me too.
I'm gonna rate it a lot higher. I'm gonna give it like 8.5.
You're high, dude.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because like I think on rewatching it, I have less of an issue. I think I'm more forgiving of stories having a really stupid way of getting the story started if it has a really good ending. It's like one of,
and yet you're a real hard ass when it comes to premieres and finales. Interesting.
Well, nothing interesting happened. That's the thing. Those episodes aren't
but like scores suffered like precisely or like specifically because of where they were placed.
No. I mean in the structure of the script. So like the fact that it had like a weird like conceit, like they could have maybe written a more interesting way, or I mean it's kind of interesting, it's just unbelievable. So maybe they could have written a more believable way that the computer created a super robot Moriarty or whatever.
Not quite a robot.
Well, yeah, super AI, whatever. But I think it's fine because the themes and story elements you get out of it is interesting enough. It's like there's like I remember a long time ago Pixar posted like a list of what they consider to be good storytelling elements.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them said, it's okay to have crazy coincidences at the beginning of a story, but you can't have them at the end. Like it's okay to start a story using something crazy that's not entirely believable. And I think that's okay for this episode as well.
See the movie Up.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what movie sucks? WALL-E.
Although the beginning of that one is slightly more believable than some.
Yeah, that's just a world that exists, and there's nothing crazy out of like Ratatouille. That is a crazy ass beginning.
Yeah, that is a pretty
where
crazy
a mouse
ass
can control
premise.
a human through his hair. You know, once you are past that weirdness, there's a whole
Very
story.
mundane.
Yeah, there's a whole.
Like, Jesus, how many damn Rat Chef movies do we need?
Yet another fucking rat cooking in the kitchen. Fucking.
Or if it's not a rat cookie, it's always some tiny being controlling a larger being by pulling their hair. Jesus Christ. Get original, Hollywood.
But yeah, that's why I would give it an 8.5, because I think otherwise, like, you know, script wise, in terms of just exploring what the holodeck can be, is really interesting, if not entirely believable. And I think it's all worth it for the character of Moriarty. He's so interesting.
Yeah,
And
Moriarty, the character, is definitely like the takeaway here. Like he's the good part of this episode.
And the performance is he keeps up with Patrick Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, he kind of outacts Patrick Stewart in that last scene. Patrick
he has more to work with, granted. Like
but Patrick Stewart has like this weird smile when he delivers some of his lines, which is a bit odd, sure. But
well,
like,
maybe that might have been like informed
that might have been
by the original ending.
Exactly. I think that was playing more into that maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, that was Elementary Dia Data. So if you've enjoyed that episode and you got here by accident somehow, dear listener, and you want to listen to more episodes
of Wishbone.
Yeah.
The next Wishbone, the next generation.
Yo, if you like, yeah.
What is
Thanks for your input, Sylvester. It's Sly himself, the biggest Wishbone fan there ever was.
For all we know.
Real talk, though, Jack Russell Terriers are sick. They are.
But yeah, if you wanted to listen to more episodes, you can find it at newbiestartrek.com. That's NEWBIE StarTrek.com, or just search for Newbie Star Trek wherever you listen to podcasts, like anywhere at this point. And
just think about it. Joe is Geordie.
And then we also have, like we mentioned in the beginning of the episode, we have another podcast, the Fugitive Frames Film Podcast, where we discuss movies, TV shows in a variety of different ways.
Yeah.
Sometimes
they're
not
lists.
Always the same. Yeah. Sometimes we're doing it as a list. Sometimes we're doing it with a guest who wants to discuss a very specific topic, or not a specific topic, something more general. Like Rick, like psychological horror. I think Sarah, who we eventually want to come on, wants to do a year. So that'll be really specific.
She wants to do one episode for a whole year.
It's like a
live stream it for a year.
It's like a performance art piece. We have to like.
Yeah.
Hello, they call it an installation.
That you can find that podcast at fugitiveframes.com, or you can just search for Fugitive Frames Film Podcast wherever you're looking for podcasts.
.org.net.edu.
No, don't do that. That's gonna lead to some weird places.
That's fine.
Don't go to all those places. Pick and choose only the good ones, but we're gonna leave that up to you.
There's only 4 websites you can go to. One of them is this next website, fugitive.games, which is our YouTube channel, or you can search for Fugitive Games.
That's true.
We do Let's Plays. So fugitive.games, fugitiveframes.com, newbiestartrek.com, or newbiestatham.com. Those are the only 4 websites you're allowed to go to.
Ease.com.
Newbie Statham is the only one you need, really. I don't even know why we bother with the other ones.
Yeah, dude.
You're wasting money every month.
Ease sponsors, dude. We like weed.
Weed. So yeah, that was that was the episode. Next week, hopefully next week, because sometimes things come up, but the next episode at least, we're gonna go. I hope I'm saying this correct. The Outrageous Okona. That's the name of the episode. I don't remember this episode at all. Like
not
zero.
without my Kona coffee.
Like a 0 about this episode. So that'll be interesting. But in the meantime, this has been a Newbie Star Trek. Hope you guys have been enjoying. We'll be back next week or whenever. But stay safe until then, everybody. Goodbye.
Yo, Data. Yo, Data. Hey.
Neutral zone's a war zone.
I said that earlier. No one heard me. God damn it.
Sorry. Now I'm just stealing your joke.